Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're not just dusting off some ancient history. No, we are embarking on a deeply psychological, incredibly mysterious journey into Buddhist philosophy to decode the very mechanics of human consciousness itself. These aren't just old, forgotten texts. They are living, breathing blueprints of the mind. They literally hold the key to understanding exactly why we hurt, and more importantly, how we heal. Before we start mapping out these ancient ideas, let's just pause for a second. Think about that heavy, crushing stress that wakes you up at 2 in the morning, the relentless overthinking that completely clouds your joy, the endless, zombie-like scrolling on your phone, constantly searching for just a fleeting hit of happiness. Is the world actually doing this to you, or is your mind meticulously building its very own prison? Okay, here is our roadmap. We're going to trace a path from the universal human experience of pain all the way down to the deepest, hidden layers of how our reality is formed. We'll cover the reality of suffering, the web of cause, the architecture of the mind, the illusion of self, the path to liberation, and finally, the ultimate goal. Section 1. The reality of suffering. Diagnosing the human condition. Over 2.5 millennia ago, a man named Siddhartha Gautama abandoned unimaginable royal luxury for one reason: to confront the raw, unfiltered reality of aging, sickness, and death. He realized in a profound way that absolutely no amount of wealth shields us from existential pain. His resulting framework, the Four Noble Truths, acts as a brilliant medical diagnosis for the human soul. He identified the illness, dukkha, which is suffering. He diagnosed its origin in our endless, unquenchable desires. He promised a cure, and finally prescribed the exact treatment. He didn't approach human sorrow as a philosopher just debating the cosmos, but as a cosmic physician treating a fatal disease. Section 2. The web of cause. Understanding dependent origination. So now that we acknowledge the symptom, we really have to peel back the layers of reality. You see, nothing comes out of nowhere. Everything is this dynamic flux of processes linked together, completely devoid of any permanent essence. This is pratityasamutpada, or dependent origination. It's the ultimate law of cause and effect. You literally cannot isolate a single moment of sadness or a single moment of joy. They are deeply, inextricably entangled in an infinite, invisible chain of prior conditions. This profound concept means there's no uncaused first creator or completely isolated event. Instead, there's a vast interconnected web that shapes our entire psychological reality. Think about it like this. You are not a static object just placed in the universe. You are an ongoing, dynamic event, completely reliant on the conditions around you and within you. These 12 links form a psychological causal chain, a terrifyingly precise domino effect. Just look at how it cascades. A fundamental ignorance of reality triggers these subconscious mental fabrications. This leads us to project desires outward. Those desires make us cling desperately to things that simply cannot last, pulling us into a relentless cycle of craving. A cycle that ultimately and inevitably results in the birth of our ego and the harsh experience of sorrow. Section 3. The architecture of mind. Exploring the Yogacara model. To truly understand how this ignorance binds us, we have to look at the Yogacara school's truly revolutionary model. I mean, if you thought modern psychoanalysis went deep, just wait until you see this. Most of us think of consciousness as just what we see, hear, taste, touch, smell, and consciously think about. But this framework reveals that our waking reality is basically just the tip of the iceberg, introducing deep, subliminal layers of the mind that constantly, quietly, operate right beneath our awareness. Deep beneath the surface lies the alaya vijnana, a mental container that survives even deep, unconscious meditative states. Think of it as a cosmic hard drive holding the energetic residue of every single action you have ever taken. It's the hidden undercurrent of your life, operating silently in the background, recording absolutely everything. Nothing's ever truly forgotten. It's simply stored away in the dark, fertile soil of your deepest consciousness. And it's the ripening of these seeds that projects our reality. The very world you perceive right now is heavily conditioned by the seeds you've planted. Think about it. Every time you give into a moment of blinding anger or succumb to a modern addiction like endlessly scrolling for external validation, you are planting a seed. When the conditions are right, that seed bursts open, coloring your entire perception of reality with hostility or anxious craving. Then there's this afflictive layer of the mind that subliminally grasps at the storehouse consciousness.
projecting an ego onto it, and basically poisoning all our other senses with selfishness and anxiety. The Klishtamonas is the voice of the ego. It's that part of you that is constantly whispering, I, me, mine. It scans the infinite data of your mind and violently builds a border around it, desperately trying to protect an identity that ultimately isn't even real.
Section 4. The illusion of self. Embracing the emptiness of identity.
This brings us to literally one of the most radical, challenging concepts in this entire explainer, the total emptiness of who you think you are. Believing in a permanent self is kind of like falling for an optical illusion. True knowledge requires a massive cognitive shift, realizing that we are just a continuous stream of conditions without a fixed core. We treat ourselves as nouns, solid, unchanging entities, but the reality of Anatman teaches us that we are verbs. We're a flowing, ever-changing river of experiences, biology, and memory. Take a second to really let that sink in. If the ego is just a mirage manufactured by the defiled mind, then suffering is just a process happening, without anyone actually owning it. Now, the pain is absolutely real, the grief is real, the anxiety is real, but the you that you think is being tortured by it, that is an illusion. When you stop identifying with the pain, the psychological grip it holds over you instantly evaporates. Section 5, The Path to Liberation. How we dismantle the suffering. Having completely deconstructed the illusion of the self, we arrive at the practical cure. The Buddha prescribed these 8 ethical and meditative steps, spanning from guarding your senses to right action to achieving one-pointed concentration. Now, this isn't just a list of polite suggestions, it is a rigorous, incredibly precise operating manual for rewiring the human mind. By cultivating these steps daily, we actively starve the defiled mind of the fuel it desperately needs to generate misery. As analyzed in academic explorations of these ancient texts, this isn't just theory. Actual moral living and rigorous mental cultivation are absolutely required to halt the production of negative karmic seeds. You can't just meditate your way out of suffering if you are actively harming others or living unethically off the cushion. A fractured, chaotic life guarantees a fractured, chaotic mind. Section 6. The Ultimate Goal. Arriving at the final destination. If the Eightfold Path is walked perfectly, where does all this arduous inner work actually lead? It leads to nirvana. But here's the thing, nirvana isn't a physical place you go to. It's a profound cessation, the blowing out of the agonizing fires of attachment. It's not some afterlife paradise. It is waking up from a nightmare. It's the absolute unshakable peace that emerges when the mind finally stops fighting reality and surrenders its desperate craving for things to be different than they are. And this brings us to a massive philosophical fork in the road, the choice between achieving your own perfect peace or making the ultimate sacrifice to return to the illusion to help others awaken. The Arhat has scaled a mountain and finally found peace, but the Bodhisattva, looking down at a world still completely drowning in anxiety and suffering, turns back. They choose profound love and compassion over their own ultimate escape. Whether as an Arhat or a Bodhisattva, reaching this profound realization means shattering the psychological chains that bind us to anxiety, stress, and dissatisfaction. It proves that the human mind, which is so capable of constructing such elaborate and terrifying hells, is equally capable of achieving complete and total liberation. The chains are heavy, no doubt, but the key is already right there in your hand. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a real provocative question to reflect on. Look at your own mind, the architect of your reality. Are your thoughts today building a prison of suffering, or are they paving the path to inner peace? Every action, every word, and every quiet little thought in the darkness of your mind is a seed. Choose wisely what you plant, because it will inevitably become the very world you have to live in.